evening, and we're back. The main event is here for you. It's the state of pro wrestling. It is Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. No, I'm not Captain Sweet. That is Jamie Sweet. I am Gerald Glassford, however. Appreciate everyone joining us here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Myriad of networks. Truly cannot thank you enough for being a part of what we do. All the radio stations out there, big high five to you. I will tag you in radio stations, and you can go ahead and with the baby face fire clean house there and absolutely get you going there. But it is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching this. Truly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe today. 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. All that good stuff on our social media, Pop Culture Cosmos, or YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. But it wouldn't be a state of pro wrestling without my tag team partner. Indeed, he comes in at a whopping 7'9", 900 pounds. Oh, I just wanted to make you like more imposing than ever. And he can deadlift 10,000 pounds using wrestler speak. You know, remember, we're talking about the same industry each and every month that had always those convenient $100,000 battle royals back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, a lot of money they were throwing around. But as a good man indeed, please follow what he is doing today at the PVD Cast, pvdcast.com, and also Matlock for all you Matlock lovers out there and all the new Matlock lovers that may be coming this fall to see about the past. No better place to go.
That's right.
Matlock. Yeah, I was just trying to get that in there. So, yes, Matlock, PVD Cast, no better place to go than those two places, and no better host to talk to than John Orlando. What's up, man?
Not much. You know what? I'm going to be honest. We talked off air. I've been on break for a couple of weeks. I just needed to recharge the batteries, and I had some vacation plans. And those vacation plans, I wanted to be, I wanted to be present. I didn't want to have to constantly be doing work as well. So I took a couple of weeks off. I hope that my fans and folks that wanted to check out the PVD Cast but were hesitant because I wasn't cranking out new episodes, they're coming this week. We're going to get back in the saddle. We're going to start cranking out some great episodes. So sorry, just wanted to take a little break, just, recharge batteries. And Gerald, I'm sure you can understand that.
Well, absolutely. But there was rumors that you might be leaving the PVD Cast Federation for greener pastures. So I just want to clear that up.
Are you hinting that there was going to be my name is All Elite? That I can safely say that is not true. I am not All Elite. So
okay, fair enough.
That's the rumor you're referring to. No.
Okay. Well, they were going to say, the PVD Cast was going to say, we wish you well in your future endeavors. But I will say this, that AEW, we will be talking about All Elite Wrestling. We'll be talking about, of course, WWE and who killed WCW. Our opinions on it after I watched it, and John is actually weeding his way through it. But our opinions on who killed WCW from the fans' eyes who lived through it on a week-by-week basis. We'll be talking about that. Plus, what is our favorite wrestling movie as well? But first, my friend, this weekend, in fact, going on here in a rather short detail, is Forbidden Door, AEW's Forbidden Door. I will say this in regards to, I'd like the concept. I know it's one of the shows that I like more from them than almost any other because it brings talent from around the world, from different organizations, All Japan, New Japan, CMLL, AAA, organizations from all around the world working with each other in the way that I always enjoy. I know that over the course of the years, wrestling organizations, both small and large, have tried to utilize that type of program in order to get people's interests. It does generate interest. It still needs refinement and fine tuning, I think, still even to this day, but I still do like the concept more than any other. We'll touch on WWE's Forbidden Door because that Forbidden Door has been broken through recently as well. But your thoughts on this weekend's AEW Forbidden Door?
It's going to be another long pay-per-view. If you are going to watch the pre-show and the entirety of the card, I think they're at 13 matches. And again, that makes me not want to watch. I'm sorry. I'm a wrestling fan through and through, but that's just a lot to sit through, especially if a lot of these matches go 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I feel like there's some great matches too. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. I think that would be a great match. Takagi versus Danielson, Strickland and Will Ospreay. Fantastic matches, but I don't know. I don't know if my enthusiasm to sit on the couch for what will probably be 7 hours is there. I just don't know. If there ever was a promotion that needed to have 2-night events, AEW should start thinking about that.
I agree with you, my friend. It does get a little too long sometimes as far as what they're doing out there, but it is, of course, one of their big shows of the year. That is Forbidden Door. I do like the concept of working with other promotions to bring different matches that the fans would not normally see. And that's something the WWE has done in recent days with a company I had told you for a period of time that would be out of business. If you told me what company would be out of business before the end of the year, I said TNA. And they started off on a promising note, had a great show at the Palms. Things were looking like they was going to turn around, but then they fired Scott D'Amore. And what happened with Scott D'Amore, as far as the head of TNA, he was let go or quit or something as far as that bad fallout between Scott D'Amore and TNA. They let go several executives. So it didn't look like it was going to be a promising future for TNA. But all of a sudden, guess what? We start seeing TNA wrestlers breaking through the Forbidden Door in NXT and vice versa. So it seemingly looks like TNA has that kind of life through the Forbidden Door of the WWE in more of the ways than one. Your thoughts, though? We talked about Forbidden Door and the opportunities that it gives for great matches and also highlighting organizations from around the world. I personally like it. In fact, I told you it's one of my favorite shows of the year, however long it takes. For me, I go ahead and I'll watch it in bunches and batches, which helps me break up the 17-hour runtime of that pay-per-view. But TNA is finding new life, or at least found a lifeline through the WWE. Your thoughts on this interesting concept and the fact that WWE is now working and partnering with companies overseas in Japan, not one, but two companies in Japan, makes it very interesting. What do you think WWE has in mind?
Well, I think that they have the idea that we can have, I don't want to say everything on lockdown, not saying that, but they have more options now that they can get great talent from Japan. They can get great talent from TNA. I mean, it's a great idea. I too, I'm just going to go back to what you said about Forbidden Door. I love the concept of these unusual matches that we would never see before. As a kid, I remember when they were doing Pro Wrestling USA. To me, that was like earth shattering. That the AWA,
Yes.
Memphis, and the NWA were all.
Or when World Class used to advertise it, that as far as other wrestlers from other promotions would be coming in to work in World Championship Wrestling. World Class Championship Wrestling.
I always dug that. I always thought that was cool. And I think this is a cool concept for AEW. I just think that there's a lot of booking issues that we say every time that we talk about AEW. But to answer your question, I think with the WWE, they realize that we are not in the olden 80s days, in the 85, 86, 87, where we never mentioned the competition. I remember as a kid, like Barry Windham came back as the Widowmaker, and I'm like, that's Barry Windham. You can't acknowledge that's Barry Windham. The fans all know who it is. Just say it's Barry Windham. But I think it's a good move, especially for All Japan Wrestling, especially for TNA, especially for is it Pro Wrestling Noah's the other Japanese company that's aligned with them. For those three, it's great because it helps them out, I'm sure, financially.
Marigold as well, remember.
Oh, yes. Okay, Marigold as well. I'm sure that it helps them out financially. I'm sure it helps them out storyline-wise. So I think it's a win for them. I mean, it definitely is. And, having Jordan Grace show up on NXT and be involved in that. And then I'm blanking on who the other individual was that showed up from TNA on NXT, but
well, Joe Henry, Kazarian, they showed up on NXT during the Battle Royal. Joe Henry seemed to take actually a very good note, because even though he was in the Battle Royal for 30 seconds, he got to do his now famous intro with his famous song that everybody seems. It's so funny because this show that they do on a weekly basis averages less than 100,000 viewers. Yet as soon as he walked through that door, everybody knew his theme song. Imagine that.
Yeah. So I think it's good. I think it's good for the overall business of professional wrestling, is that instead of working to try to kill another company, you're working to help another company, which therefore, helps the overall business in itself. And I think it's a smart move for the WWE, because it gives them more of a talent pool. It lets them, in the eyes of some fans, be less of the evil empire, which I don't subscribe to that now. But so I think overall it's a good setup for everybody involved.
So with that, my friend, it is, of course, this weekend. What's upcoming is Forbidden Door, and then soon after that is Money in the Bank with the WWE. I will say for AEW, before we get over to WWE and what they're doing, AEW, the main program, or what should be the main program, Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has come in. Obviously he's provided excellent matches and excellent work. That's great. But I think there is a concern and a shadow hanging over this match, and that's the fact that recently they had their lowest rating ever of AEW Dynamite, with 200,000 viewers less than what they normally do on an average basis, which was a great concern. Now they rebounded back in this past week, most of what they lost. But still, I think some of the things that they're doing, some of the things that we've talked about, some of the things that have been widely criticized in regards to storytelling and booking, they've come to light, my friend. And I think that the low rating, the 500,000 audience low rating that they had a week ago, should have been a kind of like a light to them, should have just like a spotlight on exactly the problems that they have. And one of them, and I think the biggest one, is that the way they structure everything right now, the focus is more on in a angle or a program with the elite that is getting some of the prime spots, whereas focus is being taken off of where it needs to be put on, and that's your world champion. And Swerve Strickland, whenever they decide to take the belt off him, I'm going to say this out loud, I really think he deserved a better chance and a better shot than what he got. I know, last month I said they should put Christian Cage on, the belt on Christian Cage, and that was no disrespect to Swerve Strickland. It was just the fact that they've not treated him well. They put him on at periods of time where I think that as far as on the card or on Dynamite or whatever, I don't think they put him in a main event position. And I'm kind of concerned that they'll do this continually going forward if their names are not MJF or Will Ospreay.
Well, I have a fear that they take the title off of Shane and they give it to, or Swerve, excuse me, and then they give it to Will. And
they won't do it yet because they want the big pop in London. They want the big pop in London for All In. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Okay. It makes sense. And All In is about, 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away. I feel bad for Swerve Strickland because he was over with the crowd.
He was.
As we've said before, they stick him in these weird time slots. You would never seen that in 86 Crockett. You would never see Ric Flair open the show in a match against Jobber number one. You would never see that.
Or right in the middle, or just right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Yeah, it wasn't. This was just a botched opportunity for, let's be honest, creating a new star. Not that Swerve Strickland wasn't already a star, but to put the jetpack on him and shoot him to the moon. If you cultivated him, give him a bunch of wins, defending the title against a decent, like Christian Cage would have been an automatic great contender. You wouldn't have had to build him too much. Christian Cage, Swerve Strickland, they could have gone a series of matches and then feed feed the next one. It's just like in Memphis. You just keep
But they
feeding
quickly discarded Cage as well,
Yeah.
and that's something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it's
Absolutely.
yeah.
They shoot themselves in the foot quite a bit over there in AEW. I don't know.
Well, again, that's why I ask, because AEW again is suffering through some growing pains currently, and a lot of that has been due to the booking. But we'll see how it is going forward. I do not think Will Ospreay will win the world title yet. I think they're waiting for that huge pop in London to go ahead and drive it. MJF, now that he's back, now that he looks good, he looks like he's in good physical shape. So, wishing the best for him. Where do they move him going forward now that he's signed a long-term deal with AEW? He even put an AEW tattoo on his leg and all that. So he says he's all elite and whatnot. So that's great. But where do they push him, or where do they put him? Because it's now kind of, you're moving towards Will Ospreay getting this world title, but yet MJF, which is the guy that you really should be putting your company around, is somewhere stuck in like 1A. I don't know how they're going to be able to distribute that and deal with that going forward. But again, these are things that all elite wrestling have to work out. But when it comes to the WWE heading into Money in the Bank, there's some things that are clear what's going on. Of course, the bloodline issue where they just went and powerbombed Paul Heyman to disassociate themselves from him. And also as well, that will lead down the line to probably a Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns battle for the head of the table type deal. I like that aspect of it, but they're branching that and they're connecting that to their top champion in Cody Rhodes. The fact that they're doing it in conjunction with Cody Rhodes, and then also as well Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, they're going to have a 6-man tag team event that's coming up here at Money in the Bank. So looking forward to that. But the fact that they're coordinating it and being able to still, even on a month where you're not focusing in on a world title match, I really feel that these are the little things that they're doing right. And there's the little things that AEW is not doing right. That's part of the difference on why you see or people complain about the products in and of what they speak right now.
Agreed. I think that first of all, I shook my head and was agreeing with you tenfold. The bloodline, you thought it was dead. You thought the storyline was
you
done.
thought it was done with, because who thought Solo Sikoa could be charismatic enough, because he had been given nothing as far as just, as a silent tough man, to be able to step up and do it. Actually AEW had that opportunity with Wardlow to put him in a position, going from a silent tough guy enforcer, putting him into it, and they blew it. And they blew it twice. And where Wardlow's career is going is now no one knows. But with Solo Sikoa, they have put him clearly in the forefront, and they've really made some good decisions, and now putting him in a position where they may be able to market him as a top contender, as a top player going forward, as a draw for the WWE going forward.
Absolutely. And look, if you are a fan of movies, this is very much like every mobster movie you've seen, right? You got the established Godfather, Roman Reigns. He leaves. Somebody just tries from his own crew to usurp power. And then when Roman Reigns, the Godfather, returns, then you have the conflict. It's great. It's fantastic. I was so excited about what they did last night with Paul Heyman. And first of all, he looked like utter garbage. And to stay up, apparently he's been staying up like hours of the day trying to look, haggard and disheveled and
playing into the role, so to speak. Yes.
Yeah, he's method acting to the 9th level, if you will. But I think
now he can get some rest.
Yes, now he'll get plenty of rest now. I think that the WWE is doing some great stuff. I think Money in the Bank is shaping up to be an interesting card, to say the least. I don't really think that it's going to be a big surprise. I think that just from my own predictions, I think that we're going to see Braun Breaker elevated to the next level. I think he wins the Intercontinental Championship. I think that if we're looking at You know, the two Money in the Bank matches. I think LA Knight wins the men's. I think
I
that
think
they
he
probably.
has to.
I think he has to as well. I think Tiffany Stratton wins the women's because I
Good
think just the
call.
way they're pushing, yeah, just the way they're pushing them, those especially Tiffany. They're not pushing. Well, they are pushing LA Knight, but they're pushing him for that U.S. title role. But still, I think I could see him being not only the U.S. champion but also the Money in the Bank winner.
Oh, we'll be touching on that in just a second, Alan.
Okay.
I've got that as a surprise question for John Orlando. Very good
Okay.
call, Alan. So we'll
Okay.
go ahead and touch on that. But to close out where they stand heading into the pay-per-views, AEW, again, the wrestling product, not in question. Great wrestling product when it gets in the ring. It's just about where these stories are going, I think, when it comes right down to it. But with WWE, they don't need to have to focus all the time on having a 4 or 5-star match. They just need to make sure that the stories are being continuously told and the right people are getting the right victories at the right time. As long as that continues, the base of the WWE fans and the WWE universe will continue to be happy
Mm-hmm.
going forward. I do want to mention before we continue that the Wyatt Sick is coming to a town near you pretty soon because they did debut on television to great acclaim, great notoriety, great interests with the angle. It's a return as far as Bray Wyatt's brother, Bo Dallas, and as far as Bo Rotundo, for lack of a better term, his real name is Rotundo, from the Rotundo family, as far as the Rotunda family per se, but Wyatt is in this case, as far as the Wyatt Sick, is actually going to be Uncle Howdy, aka Bo Dallas, be leading 5 individuals, most of which are, I'm going to actually get all the names of the entire, so I don't miss any names on it. But they came out to a very interesting, I should say, closure of Raw a couple weeks ago with the supposed killing or mass murdering of several individuals in the back who all appeared to be fine the next week. However, I just wanted to go ahead and make mention of that. But it is getting back to the supernatural, mystical, fantastic type deal that, of course, Bray Wyatt was known for. Now, Bray Wyatt, whatever you say as far as what worked or what didn't work, the Bray Wyatt, the character, and what Wyatt Rotunda put into it was part of the reason why that character worked. I've been telling you right now, in the ring or out of the ring, part of the reason why the character really clicked with fans is because of what the work he put into it. Bo Rotunda, aka Uncle Howdy, and the whole entire crew, they've got the work cut out for them, my friend, because again, Hunter Triple H is trying to recreate history with this group of the Wyatt Sick. And as Alan put it, do you see the Wyatt Sick, this whole group, this whole collection of wrestlers, do you see it succeeding?
I think it can succeed. I think what they have to do is they have to remember that look that the video, the vignette they showed with Bo Dallas talking to Uncle Howdy, that was beautifully shot. That was superbly edited. It was great. It had a great tone, a great vibe to it, whatever you want to say. It was great. It was fantastic. But what the WWE needs to remember is that happened outside of the ring. That happened in a production studio. So you can't just rely on those. That doesn't transfer the ring, is what I'm trying to get at. So I think
What
that they have
happened
to
backstage is what had happened.
right. That I think that's the thing. Like the drama needs to stay backstage and the spookiness and all that jazz. But in the ring, they have to book them incredibly smart. I feel like no one in this crew of the 5. Which, by the way, what a great group of 5 to pick. 5 people that have talent but aren't really doing anything. Great job of recasting, quote unquote. But all 5 of those, Gerald, I think you got to keep them strong for a while. No one can afford to take a loss. Not Nikki Cross, not Joe Gacy, not Dexter Lumis. They have to be the Godzillas that are coming to destroy Tokyo. All right, for this to work. And then slowly but surely, Nikki Cross can take some losses. Dexter Loomis could take some losses. You can get it to where it's down to Uncle Howdy's the only one that's been unstoppable, and then you could start telling a great story of how somebody, and they don't have to use anybody in a title. I think putting a title on Bray Wyatt was a mistake way back a few years ago when they did that. I feel like they don't need to focus on that. Just focus on.
Yeah, but they need to. You can't book them as a mid card. You talked about
No.
being able to having to push them. I think if you spend the kind of money that you're spending on them, and if you're trying to make all of these guys and gal succeed, because all these guys and gal on the main roster at the time that they were pulled off to go ahead to create this Wyatt Sicks, we're not doing much of anything.
No.
Putting together, as far as if you separate them all and put them out on their own careers, they're all going to struggle still, and most likely all of them at some point in time, or most of them, would probably get waived or sent to future endeavor land. So if that's the case, this is a way to go ahead and get all this talent together and be able to help maximize whatever talent they have. But you got to book it right. Like you said, the key is booking right. If you book them straight to the mid card, this has failed. This has failed, and this has failed miserably. So you have to, like you said, keep them strong, not necessarily for the title anytime soon, but you still have to put them into place. But you also have to put individuals that are at a believable top level to counteract against them. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So you have to be very careful about who you book them against for a top run. If you just have them terrorizing the Alpha Academies and the other entities of the world that are out there that are like mid card or lower, nobody's going to care. And so I'm not a big fan of this type of thing. And I understand that's me getting off my lawn and just whole type of, it should be always. I've never been a fan of it. I told you, I think we were on this show, and what did I give the worst match of the year to? Was the match between Bray Wyatt and John Cena, the cinematic match. Yeah, the cinematic match. That's the worst match I think I've one of the top 3 worst matches I've ever seen in my life, if you could even call it a match. So I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm also open to the fact that this is the WWE. This is it was created by Vince McMahon on the premise of bringing something to life outside of just straight pinfalls and submissions. I get that. Storyline creating. If he can do it right, if Triple H can go ahead and push this right, it can do good things. It can be a new stream of revenue. It can, I don't want to say become the new NWO or the new, just DX or next great faction or whatnot. But if it just does make its money back in merchandising, in ratings, if it doesn't kill your ratings, if it actually improves your ratings, then I say that's a job well done. I say that's all you need to do with the Wyatt Sicks.
And let's be honest, we've had weird characters in wrestling before. The Undertaker's a prime example. You go back to Kevin Sullivan and his run in
We've also
Florida.
had the gobbledygooker, but do we really have to go there?
I'm just saying that we have these characters that obviously, as you mentioned, merchandise sales is a big part of what the WWE machine looks at, and I can certainly see there could be some great Uncle Howdy shirts in the crowd.
If it connects with the younger audience, then it's done its job. It's not going to connect with you or I.
No.
If it does, that's an extra bonus. But if it does connect with a younger audience, then the Wyatt Sicks Alan and the Wyatt Sicks John have done their job. That's all you need to focus on. Gen X, Gen Z, just anybody 30 and below. If it connects to, the advertisers will say 18 to 49, but anybody that will go ahead and be able to latch on to this, and maybe younger audiences are more accepting of a group like the Wyatt Sicks, my friend.
Yeah, but again, bottom line is they have to execute and they have to book this correctly for it to make an impact and for them to make revenue and for them folks in the group to be successful, et cetera, et cetera. The booking, bottom line, which I mean, again, we could go back to AEW and say the same thing. Booking is what the problem is there. Booking could be the problem with the Wyatt Sick.
Great question, Alan. I do want to compliment you. Once again, it is the State of Pro Wrestling. It is John Orlando from the PVD Cast and also Matt Talk. Please go ahead and check out what he's doing on a week-to-week basis at thepvdcast.com. Plus also me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching this. We truly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you like what we do. We cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos and Pro Wrestling once a month on the State of Pro Wrestling. We do more, but my tag team partner, he's busy, always negotiating with other wrestling federations, so I can only get him on a once-a-month basis. But if it ever turns out to be more, there you go. You know the price has changed. Absolutely. But once again, it is John Orlando. John, I want to ask you this. You just got done on Vice with one of the most, I guess, anticipated Vice shows. We see the wrestling shows that they do on Vice and A&E and all the other side stuff that covers the WWE and beyond and covers great past the wrestling, but no miniseries has ever garnered more attention that's not WWE related per se, as far as being on a WWE network, than Vice's and $7, The Rock. All of them were involved with Who Killed WCW, a 4 episode event series from the makers of Vice, that we've known so well from all those shows that we've seen over the years. But let me ask you this. I just got finished this week with the final episode of Who Killed WCW. Well, I should say not conveniently timed, but unfortunate timing as regards to one of the major players, the guy who actually pulled the plug on WCW, television executive Jamie Kellner, passed away, and condolences to his family on his loss. He was known for the guy that also started WB, helped start Fox, CW. Oh yeah, and the thing that he, as I think one comment I was reading, and then also a comment that I heard later, was that he also was the guy that killed WCW. And the thing that he gets, or that I guess a lot of people were trying to get him to talk about, and I think he only talked once on the record, was killing WCW. But he didn't actually kill WCW. He was just the executive that was brought in after the Time Warner AOL merger to make the call after the failed sale or whatever came across. It seems to be, again, they covered on the last episode in some detail. Does it give you everything that you need to do about the proposed sale to Eric Bischoff and Fusion Technology or Fusion Entertainment? No, it doesn't give you the whole Fusion Entertainment. It doesn't tell you everything you want to know. And I think that's the problem with this series. It doesn't tell you everything that you want. It tells you everything that they want you to know, because it gives you some of the individuals, not all the individuals you want to hear from. Well, before we get into who killed, in our opinion, WCW, as much as you've gone through it, what are your thoughts on the episodes that you've seen so far?
Well, I think the first one I thought was pretty good, where they started talking about the idea of trying to rival the WWF at the time, or WWE. I thought that was
because they go by year basis.
They do.
Yeah, they lead you 96, 97, 98, 99, and then 2000. Yeah. And then, not much in 2001. Yes.
My thing is this, it seems like 2001. It seems to be, so far to me, that you're going to get, like, everybody has noses, everybody has opinions, and that's what this is going to be. And I think that it's really convenient and very easy for people to go, well, it's Eric Bischoff's fault that WCW was killed. Well, but Eric Bischoff didn't come around till 94, 95. There are steps, I believe, in my own humble opinion, there are steps way back before the 90s that led to the death of WCW, in my humble opinion. And I think that when people don't study those or don't read up on those, then it's very easy for them to do the soundbite of, oh, well, Hogan was there and he had creative control, so that's what killed WCW. Yes, that
Well,
did.
let me just
That's
to quantify that, John. I apologize. To
no.
quantify that, they were a money-losing organization for Turner for years.
Mhm.
First Georgia Championship Wrestling, but then World Championship Wrestling. When they went ahead, they bought the UWF and they became World Championship Wrestling. They were money-losing organization for years, but were providing good, solid ratings to a very devoted crowd, yours truly included, for years, both of us, for years before Eric Bischoff came in. Again, they still wanted to get it to a leg higher. He got them to that point. And give Eric Bischoff credit. Forever you want to go ahead and criticize him on this 4-episode deal, selective memory, whatever. He did make mistakes, and he did admit to saying mistakes on there. You got to give him credit for the 83 weeks, his name of his podcast, because he did put them in a position where they were solvent and where they were making money, generating enough revenue, and beating on a weekly basis in the ratings to WWE. Now, after that, where it started to fall apart due to bad booking decisions, egos, high salaries, up executives from Turner and then AOL, Time Warner, not having an interest in the product. There's a shared reason why WCW died. If you cannot just say who killed WCW and pin it on one person, I agree with you 110%. You cannot just say this person, Vince Russo, terrible booking, the whole 9 yards. To put David Arquette as a champion, finger poke of doom, just many missteps along the way. Shouting out Mick Foley has just won the world championship. Just so many mistakes that you can continually go on, but they still had opportunity after an opportunity to right the ship, but as a collective could not figure it out. So I say this on the Lakers Fast Break all the time, my friend, and then I'll turn it over to you, where people ask me, why are the Lakers as an organization currently having so many issues that they are? I say, well, you can't just blame one person. You can't just blame two people. It's so easy to just blame the owner and GM, and that's it. Can't just blame LeBron or AD. When an organization wins, it's an organization. It's a group that all comes together, clicks together, and works well together. But when it fails, everything falls apart. Fingers start getting pointed. Egos start getting happening. Poor decisions are being made. So when I say and I see who killed WCW, would I've liked to have seen Tony Schiavone, Ric Flair, Sting, Hogan on this as well and give their thoughts and share the thoughts? Yes. Would they have all given the truth on what's going on? Probably not. But again, it is what it is. Wrestler speak, it is what it is. I would have just liked to have seen a little bit more accountability and people saying, you know what, we all made mistakes and we all let WCW die. We all let WCW die.
And I think that when you're talking about this program done by those two fine gentlemen, Evan and Jason,
Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring guys. I think the first seeds that you see in the fall of WCW is the last episode of Dark Side of the Ring this year. This season, I should say, when they talked about Black Saturday. I think Black Saturday is where it first starts. That is the first hint of the destruction of WCW. And then you work up to buying the UWF in 87, how that didn't work out. And then trying to pair up with the AWA in 85, and that didn't work out so well either. And then they bought Central States, which was a territory that was pretty much almost done anyways.
You're dying anyways.
Dying a very fast death. They didn't do things in those early days to set them up for success. And I think that right there is what I was referring to, is if you can't acknowledge that, those small steps, those are all small. Like, I hate to say it, it's like a disease. You get a cough. Oh my goodness, you get a little bit of a cough, and then maybe that cough gets deeper, and then maybe you're having problems breathing, and this all leads up to, oh my God, I got this terrible disease, that's attacking my lungs. It was that for WCW, but I agree
You're
with you.
saying that there's an underlying current that's been there for decades.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
That led to just the atmosphere and a culture that led to eventually, overcoming or just absorbing any type of good or positivity. I see it a little differently than you, because again, I felt that they righted the ship. They had a talent roster that was as good or even better than the WWE in those mid 90s, especially with the luchadors and the light cruiserweights that were lighting it up. And, just the decision not to put them in more prominent roles, and a whole bunch of reasons why I could tell you that WCW died a horrible death. And it's not just Eric Bischoff. It's not just Vince Russo. It's not just Kevin Nash. It's just exactly the whole organization to me. Like you said, maybe because they had to plant the seeds. The seeds were planted, like you said, decades ago after what went on Georgia Championship Wrestling and World Championship Wrestling, the early years when they were a flailing and, high rated, but very struggling money financial, clear number 2 to the WWE at that time. So I can tell you from my vantage point that I just think that this company had the opportunity and was looking like it was going in the right direction, that it was looking like it could have very easily been the WWE that we've been talking about today, and where we would say the WWF. Hey, remember the WWF, Vince McMahon's corporation? It could have very easily in 1997 turned the other way for WCW, but it didn't, due to poor decision making, egos running amok, and just a whole organization, whether it's above at the executive level, the booking level, or the talent level, that just let it go to the wayside, and just basically, in my opinion, just did not get on the same page. They were never on the same page. When they came close to it, Eric Bischoff had them on a roll. But Eric Bischoff made mistakes. The egos, whatever you want to say, what's the drugs, the alcohol, the partying, the life, whatever. All these things came in and they built up until finally it was just too much to overcome.
I think that's the best way to summarize the death of WCW.
There's just no one finger, pardon the pun, finger poke of doom to blame one individual. And I think that's what they try to do. They don't go, that's what the only thing I have an issue with, outside of, again, I wish I would have heard more voices from that era talk more. Also, it would have been great if a Meltzer or Keller, for somebody from there, it would have been able to, trying to put things in perspective as well, that actually, wrote about it in historical terms as well from that era. That would have been great to hear that. But for me, again, it's all about, not one person could lead the downfall of a multi-million-dollar company. It takes a collective effort to do just that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, on that note, man, I just, again, taking a breath back. Woo, yeah, getting back again. It is the State of Pro Wrestling. My good friend, Mr. John Orlando from the PVD cast. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Everybody out there doing so. Before we hit our final subject, which is wrestling movies on a more lighter note, WWE in Indianapolis recently struck a deal for not one, not two, but 3 big events. I think a SummerSlam, a Survivor Series, and a WrestleMania in the not too distant future. It's a big deal, my friend, because WWE, TKO, UFC, they're all looking for deals, though. They're all looking for these cities to pony up in order, if you want the WWE to come there with their big shows. Your thoughts on Indianapolis ponying up some big time cash in order to go ahead and strike a deal to get some big shows in the not too distant future to Indianapolis?
Well, I find it interesting that Indianapolis is turning out to be the city to go to for big events. I mean, they had the NCAA basketball finals there, if I remember correctly, this year. They had USA swimming and diving, I believe, or swimming, at least swimming for sure. I know they had that there just a few weeks ago. So I find it interesting, and this is kind of something new that I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to work and see how
Indianapolis
successful it
500 seems to draw a couple people here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm curious to see how the WWE does. Because we've never kind of seen this before, because it's always been SummerSlams in Portland, Royal Rumbles in Memphis. You know what I mean? Like, it's always been moving around. So I think it's going to be an interesting idea. I would like to know, and I have no proof. This is just sheer conjecture out of my mouth. I would like to know how much Pat McAfee had to do with this.
Oh, I'm sure a lot. He was actually conversing with Triple H, and Triple H had said on the air on his show, that he did have something to do with it. So I'm sure his relationships, because he was a former player with the Indianapolis Colts, that he did have a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but let's just say he had some influence.
Yeah.
In directing it towards as far as Indiana. More power to the city of Indianapolis. That means if you're willing to pony up the money, that means a lot of money is coming back as far as people visiting your town, providing economic benefits. So they're like Las Vegas this time. When it comes to WrestleMania time next year, you don't think we will feel effects? You'll be kidding yourself. We will feel the positive effects of all these people coming in to go seeing WrestleMania. Even if they don't get to see WrestleMania, they're here in Vegas for all the events, spending money, boosting the economy for that period of time. And it's, anybody who doesn't appreciate that, it's just got to be kidding themselves. So I ask you this before we go ahead and hit our final subject, my friend. You've seen Indianapolis make the big bucks. Saudi Arabia, politically, whatever your stance is on that, as far as it's concerned, I respect and I understand that. But, the sports washing, whatnot, whatever you call it, as far as buying your way into events or buying teams or whatever, Saudi Arabia, you think the agenda that they have in doing so, they are purchasing big money PLEs to come to their land. Where would you like to see? I mean, I really enjoyed the enthusiasm of the overseas PLEs. I understand they weren't on my same time frame and things of that nature, but I really like every now and then the genuine enthusiasm when a WWE goes to one of these places abroad and you see the genuine love and enthusiasm there. I would like to see that continue even for big shows like WrestleMania. What are your thoughts on where you would like to see WrestleMania or big WWE PLEs go from here?
Well, there's got to be one in London. There just has to be.
Oh yeah, it has to be.
They're going to have.
They want to do it. They'll do it now just to piss off AEW.
Absolutely. So I think that's a no-brainer.
Oh, you're going to do 80? You're going to do 80 in Wembley? We'll just do 85. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. That's a great question, Gerald, because I've never really thought of.
I would love to see one in Mexico City, personally.
Okay. I would probably.
Or Rio.
Man, I don't know.
I think going to get a huge draw in Rio.
In Rio de Janeiro?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where the Intercontinental title first emanated from.
Supposedly. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know that story as well.
I would have to say somewhere in like Central Europe. I think Germany would be a cool place to have a WrestleMania.
I would love a PLE in Tokyo.
I would too. I think
just for historic reasons, love to see it in the dome there or Karakan Hall. Yeah, that would be really historic. I would love to see that.
I mean, I freaked out in 91 or 92 whenever they did SWS, over there in Japan with the mishmashing of
in the Tokyo
Japanese,
Dome.
Yep. Japanese talent and WWF talent. I really marked out for that, so I could see that. Here's my only thing. I am worried about going.
Australia's hosted a PLE event recently too. So
there you go.
That was huge.
How about India?
seems to be the one that everybody seems to talk about, because India is the most populous country in the world now, passing China. I'd love to see something in China. We could build men fences and we can just have something there as well. That would be awesome to see, as far as just from a human nature standpoint. But I know there's a lot of politics behind that. But India, I would love to, see that, just again to try and boost that marketplace, which is something that both AEW and WWE have tried to dabble with.
Mm-hmm.
And the Maharaja, I will say, as far as to start off with, when they gave him the title run. In fact, by the way, if I think the Maharaja, actually, now that he is a free agent, I think he should keep the Maharaja name. I think that's actually a cool moniker. Yeah, absolutely. But then Jinder Mahal. But need I digress? I think that would be a great place to go ahead and think about doing a PLE event live from. So again, there's many places, but it's all about the money. TKO is all about the money that you pay us in advance to host. And that's going to be a hindrance going forward, because if they're always looking for cash instead of looking at the future ramifications of what you would do if you were in a Mexico City, or if you did a show from India, if you're always looking at the advance instead of what the outcome will be after it, I think that's going to blind a little bit the WWE from maybe some places that they should be going forward.
Which too, if I'm not mistaken, TKO has pitched the idea of UFC on a Saturday night, WWE in the same city on Sunday night, or something along those lines. I don't know.
They've talked about that. I'm not sure if again, TKO has pitched that, but do the WWE and UFC ever really? It's like they're together, but they're not. They're like at the table, those two siblings who really don't like each other, but who are told to get along because it's advantageous for them. And because it's financially advantageous for all of them to get together, they're going to continue to get together. And you may see down the road more of that. I just still think there's some harsh feelings, because even though they won't tell you they weren't direct competitors with each other for years, they were direct competitors with each other for years. So people say, oh, they're not the same fan bases. They had crossover. Indeed. But yeah, your final thoughts, my friend, on where you would go ahead and have a PLE that you think should.
Well, like I said, Germany, I like the idea of Tokyo, India, Australia. Hey, you know what? Let's be wacky. How about have one in Antarctica?
There you go. Absolutely. Oh, very cold indeed. But if you have thoughts out there on anything that we've discussed today and what we're going to discuss here in a second, please let me know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com, or in the comments right below on YouTube. But before we head on out, my friend, and before you give that quick plug for the PVD cast and Matt Talk, your subject, because my subject is next month, and boy, that's going to be a whopper. That might be some things where you and I might be fighting each other. But your thoughts, my friend, on some of the best, and well, actually, there's a lot of bad wrestling movies out there, so I don't know if you really want to go and touch on that. But some of the wrestling movies that you have in mind, I can only think of one that's really got me touched interest as far as from a dramatic standpoint. And that's The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I think that movie is absolutely outstanding. Marissa Tomei was excellent. I think that movie is deserving of any and all praise. And if you've not seen The Wrestler, you should go out of your way to do so.
You know what? I rewatched it this morning because I know we were going to talk about it. And I haven't watched it, probably in about 4 or 5, maybe longer, probably 10 years. I haven't watched it. And it still packs a punch. It still gives you an unbelievable tale that, sadly, wrestling fans, or us that worked in the indies, we've run across that character. All right, we've run across that character, and so it resonated with me. It's a fantastic film. Gosh, just what more can you say about it other than you're right? Mickey Rourke did a fantastic job. Marissa Tomei, Evan Rachel Wood, very underrated in that movie as well. I think she did a fantastic job playing Stephanie, the daughter. And yeah, just I like the open ending. The ending, you just kind of assume there's no neat little I'm going to tie everything up in a bow. The Wrestler's fantastic. In fact, I agree that it's the greatest wrestling movie of all time.
Any others that come to mind that you want to talk about? Because The Wrestler with Ed Asner doesn't, for me, really put on that list. I kind of be honest with you, my friend. But is there any others before we get into the documentaries before we head on out?
Yeah, you know what? I picked this one because this one resonated with me because as a kid I saw it and it kind of, for a while, not really for a while, I shouldn't say that, but for that time that I was watching this movie, I was confused as to why the guy from the A-Team and why all these wrestlers were in a movie. And of course, I'm talking about Body Slam from 1986, starring Dirk Benedict, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Tanya Roberts, John Aston, and literally a host of other of every wrestler, of all kinds of wrestlers. The Barbarian, Tijo Khan, Ric Flair was in it, Bruno, the Tonga Kid, aka Sam Fatu. I mean, there's a host of cameos in it, and it's a schlocky comedy. There's nothing really, that awesome about it. It's just Dirk Benedict's a kind of a dirtbag promoter that teams up with Tonga Tom and Rick Roberts, and they go on this a wonderful ride to get to the top and win the tag team titles. Again, very, very, very schlocky. There's not much to the plot, but it's enjoyable. It's a fun watch is all I could say.
If I could give you 2 documentaries to watch, I think that are still moving and hard-hitting. Well, I give you 3. I give you The Triumph and Tragedy of World Class Championship Wrestling. If you really want to see what happened with WCCW, Wrestling with Shadows, and Beyond the Mat.
Yes.
Your thoughts on those before we head on out?
I think all those are fantastic. I also would throw in there the 2 Jake the Snake Roberts documentaries as well. The one that was produced.
Oh, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Yes.
Yes. The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And what was the other one? The other one was a WWE release, which was okay, but the Resurrection was better. How can I forget? They have one for the Iron Sheik that was on Netflix years ago. And
the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair is it's how you want to see it. So yeah, it's Ric Flair wrestling speak. Take it with a grain of salt. What's said there, but yeah, great suggestions, John. Before we head on out, I want to mention next month you and I are going to be probably our most controversial topic ever. We're going to grade the wrestling announcers. So John was all set to do it. I'm like, I got to make you a list, man. We're going to make a list of all the wrestling announcers that we can, and then grade them on a 5-point scale in 3 different categories. So we will be tallying everything up and be sharing that on our next episode. I think you and I will have a difference of opinion on that. Before we head on out, though, my friend, you've got a couple great shows that you need to talk about before we head on out.
Yeah, let's talk about it. As I said, I've been kind of taking a little break there, but I'm getting back in the saddle as the PVD Cast is my own personal podcasting project, available at pvdcast.com or wherever you find great and awesome podcasts. The last episode that I did was with a gentleman named David Hedgecock, who did a fantastic comic book called, let me see if I can remember the title, Super Kaiju Rock and Roller. Oh no, I'm going to forget it now. Big Time Fun Go. There we go. I remembered it. Okay. Woo! Sorry, David. I was sweating on that one. But anyways, it's just basically a fantastic roller derby team. They're also a rock band, fight kaiju. What more do you need to know?
I miss roller derby.
Yes. I do too. I remember watching it as a kid on ESPN.
I remember watching it on local television. Byron says Rhea Ripley must face adversity when she returns, not win the championship straight away. Rhea Ripley. Oh, yeah. I agree with you, Byron. I agree. I still think they need to give Dominic, Dirty Dom, a run, but how this is playing out with Liv Morgan and all that scenario, I think that's a very good storyline. Definitely sets things up so nicely for a Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. Well, I guess Nia Jax has to face one of the champions too as well. Maybe she'll face Bailey, but yeah, I think that'll be something to definitely looking forward to, Byron. But you also have another great show, Mad Talk, to talk about as well.
Matt Talk. It's available wherever you find, like, the YouTube page. There's a Matt Talk YouTube page. There's the Matt Talk Facebook, which is the best place to go. That is at Matt Talk Podcast. It's also available on Twitch, on Twitter or X, excuse me. It's available all over the place. So the simplest place to go is our Facebook page at Matt Talk Podcast. We're recording a new episode tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come on over, enjoy. We're going to be reviewing another fabulous episode of season 5 of Matlock. And we enjoy doing it. We love hearing from folks. And so come on over and check that out. And yeah, that's it, Gerald.
And on note of Rhea Ripley, congratulations to her and Buddy Matthews
Yeah.
on their nuptials. They got married recently. So sorry, guys. She's now officially spoken for, indeed. But once again, it is my tag team partner, John Orlando from the PVD Cast and Matt Talk. Make sure you check out everything that he's doing today at the PVDcast.com. That's the PVDcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Well, we'll be back on Friday, the PC Multiverse, with me and Melinda or her husband, Robbie Ross. She hasn't told me which way she wants to go yet. She might be too busy to talk pop culture. She might send in her hubby to do that. So we'll see what happens. But it is, of course, the Pop Culture Cosmos. Truly appreciated. Once again, this is the state of pro wrestling. We cannot thank you enough for watching and listening. And for John Orlando and myself, we will be heading back into the ring this time next month, right here on the state of pro wrestling for the Pop Culture Cosmos, the PVD Cast, and for everyone out there. Here's hoping you have yourself a great